Okay. Well,
Oh God. Oh,
all
hold on.
right.
I got it. Here
There you go. There you go.
we go. Okay,
All
we're
right.
here.
So, welcome everyone to Burn the Wagon, where we're here to burn the wagon that's capitalism, patriarchy, and colonialism. Today, my guest is Cinnamon, who's out of Tennessee, correct?
Yes. Yeah,
Oh,
Memphis.
Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I said that earlier, and I was like, damn it, hopefully I didn't get that wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to do a
Away
quick.
from you.
Okay, I want to do a quick prayer real quick, and before we go on, I want to send
Sure.
love to anybody that's suffering from domestic violence issues. I want to send love to anybody that's suffering from mental health issues. I want to send love to any of our loved ones or anybody that we know has passed on to the spirit realm. I want to send love to any woman or non-binary person that has been forced to give labor to a child they weren't ready for. I want to send love to our precious Mother Earth. And I also want to send love to yourselves for being here today. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
So first off, I want to start off with a little intro about yourself and who you are and where you're from.
I go by Cinnamon Sunshine. That's an actual nickname. My first name is Georgette, but I go by Cinnamon Sunshine. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I consider myself a Black Indian. I have both double Cherokee on my maternal side, Blackfeet on my paternal side, and Choctaw on my maternal side. So we're all mixed, and Gullah Geechee on my mother's side throughout the line. So I'm just a combination of,
Yeah,
mixed
that's a
all up.
mixture. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was honestly doing some research on the Gullah Geechee today. Watching some videos, and I definitely want to talk about that first. If you have much on that culture and that side of life, because it's a very interesting thing. You know, I was watching on a video that I was watching on YouTube. So I'll let you take over and kind of get it started on that conversation.
Okay, and I've got my summer tan. It was like 103 degrees here most of the summer. So when you look at my videos, I have a YouTube channel. It's like I look like two different people. It just cooked us this year.
What's your YouTube channel first? Shout it out so people know.
Cinnamon Sunshine on YouTube. Just that
Okay,
simple.
cool.
Cinnamon Sunshine. Being Gullah Geechee, we always knew what we were. My family was really deep into who you are, where you come from, who you come from. So I already knew that line, I don't know whether to look down or up, that line came from Sierra Leone. I already knew that. We are Gullah and Geechee because my great grandfather and grandmother, one was Gullah and the other one was Geechee, and they married. So one was from, I think, North Carolina, and one was from Georgia. So they mixed. Savannah. I think Savannah. But being Gullah Geechee, I have a lot of spiritualism from being native. But the Gullah Geechee line, when you talk about spiritualism, to me, is on a whole nother level. I'm sure you probably saw when you watched that video, we are called the anointed people. I don't know if you saw that on there. That history is so deep. I don't even know where to start. I mean, it's just deep. The Gullah Geechee are the people that were most of them were slaves in West Africa. Sierra Leone is where my people came from. When they were brought over, they brought them to like swamplands, and the slaveholders really didn't want to be there. It was mosquitoes. It was swampy. They basically left them there to work the rice fields and whatnot. And they ended up fighting against slavery. I'm trying to shorten the story a little bit. They ended up fighting against slavery, and basically were the last holdout for slavery. They fought. They got with the, what tribe is that? I'm getting a little nervous now, out of the Seminoles. A lot of Gullah Geechee do have Seminole blood, too, because they fought together against the white man, against slavery. But as far as the spiritualism, that goes so deep, I'd have to do a whole nother thing. I mean, it's deep. It's deep.
And you were
there are
talking
some.
you were talking about the chicken foot the other day. Is that a part of the Gullah Geechee culture?
It is, and it's part of hoodoo. I have several, I don't know how to put this without just putting all our business out there, because I'm very private, believe it or not. There are several lines in my family of spiritual people, I'll put it like that. Very strong lines. That when I pray to my ancestors, if you look at my videos, I'm not just saying something. There's specific ancestors that I do pray to. They know who I am. I know who they are. And I have several ancestors that have passed that were very powerful. So that's who I'm praying to. And if you ever watch any of my videos and I say those that dwell in the light and in the dark, I do have some dark ones too. And it's my belief that, you know, God is good and good is good, but sometimes you need a little darkness to fight other darkness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that part of me, the Gullah and the Geechee part, as far as my spiritualism. I mean, if you and I were talking privately, I would be more open, but we're not, and we don't know who's going to see this. It's just, all I can tell you on this forum is it runs very deep. It's in your bloodline. Do you follow what I'm saying? It's in you. You've heard of people that say they're fifth, sixth generation spiritualists or fifth or sixth generation psychic. It's my understanding, my belief, and my family's belief. Some things are passed on through the bloodline, and it is. It's in your blood. It's nothing someone can teach you. It's nothing against Reiki or Reiki. You can't, I won't say you can't. I have healers in my family. I've had illnesses that I've had to go to people in my family, and they've laid hands on me. And the healing didn't happen right away, but it did happen. I hope I'm making sense. Do you follow what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
It's nothing. Yeah, it's an intuitive knowing. It's an intuitive knowing and feeling, and being in touch with yourself, being in touch with the universe, being in touch with the world, and being in touch with that person that you're looking to heal. And to understand that we're not God, we're just a tool. So if it's meant to be that that person will be healed, they will be healed. You're just a vessel. And all of that is which is the part that I get from the Gullah part, and some of it from the native part as well. But you were speaking specifically Gullah Geechee. Yes, I had one of my sisters, she said there's some things she knows how to do. No one taught her. She just does it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
She just does it. She knows how to do it because of our bloodline and being in touch with the ancestors. She just does it. It may be a healing.
It's lived in your DNA it's lived in your DNA through those years, you know, and the generations after generations just passed down.
Mm-hmm.
So I was learning that there's a whole language of the Gullah Geechee. Do you know any of it?
No. I don't speak any of it. I know about gone down and all that stuff, but no, I don't speak it. I can understand it, but I don't speak it.
Oh, okay.
I can understand most of what's being said, yes. And I have been in contact with Queen Quet. Oh, she's over the Gullah Geechee Nation. I'm sure if you pulled it up, you saw her. She's a fierce advocate and chief over the Gullah Geechee Nation. And that's why when I consider myself indigenous, not only indigenous because of my Native American blood, but the Gullah Geechee are indigenous to this land as well. Not as native as far as Indians, but native just to the land as Africans or Black people. They're still indigenous.
Yeah, well, I was their way of life is super decolonized. You know, they're trying to live off the land. They're trying to live as they lived, you know, a long time ago. And some of these areas are being super gentrified by. And
yeah.
I think
they try to steal land, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild because I think I was watching some Vice video on YouTube, and yeah, it's just a gentrification of like these companies coming try to build golf courses, and most of the Gullah Geechee Nation exists in Florida, Georgia, right, and
North
a couple
South
other places.
Carolina, all the East Line. And actually, some Gullah Geechee had Mexican blood as well, too, because during that time, you know, Mexico didn't turn anybody down. So some of them ended up down in Mexico. I don't know if you knew that. But, yeah.
I did know about some enslaved people escaping to Mexico. I did hear like stories of that happening for sure. And that's why you have like enslaved people that were like cowboys and such like that, working
Right.
out in yeah, stuff like that. And that's awesome. That's really amazing to think about. And yeah, like that decolonized life that they're living back in. I think I was watching one in South Carolina, and it was amazing to see because they're just living with the teachings of before, like you said, like it's all handed down through verbal hand down and teaching that way, you know.
Hmm. And there are
So
several Gullah Geechee on my page, too. You're on my private Instagram. When you look on there, you'll see several people that are Gullah Geechee.
okay, awesome. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
have anybody else that would definitely want to come on, I would be definitely. I would love to get some more people of the Gullah Geechee Nation, you know, because I barely learned about it. I would say 4 months ago, you know.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. My cousin turned me on to game, and he was like, "You got to learn about these people out in South Carolina and like the swamps and stuff, and what happened to them." And it was like, wow. And I really started, and then now this conversation's really got me like really got my gears spinning on like how things work. It's like you said, they're enslaved people that were brought here from, you said South Africa, correct?
Right, West Africa. Like I said, my line is Sierra Leone, but any part of that West Africa part, yeah. But like I said, I call them white people. I don't normally say colonizers. The white slave owners, you know, they couldn't stand the swamp and the mosquitoes and stuff. They literally left them there, you know, and they like, well, shoot, you know, we're gonna fight you now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's what they did. So I guess
Yeah.
fighting is just in my blood. Yeah, it's just in there. Yeah.
And you got to survive out in those swamps. You know what I mean? It's a
Oh yeah.
you got to be tough,
Yeah.
and they learn to. So it's the lineage grows and grows to be strong and then resilient. You know, and that's amazing with all these people that like that we've just learned to live and grow in these oppressed. Like you said, it's tough out there to live in those swamps, and they didn't want to be out there, but this is where we exist. This is where we live, and this is where we thrive. You know, so. It's amazing to see that the people still exist here today.
Hmm. And when you're Gullah Geechee, as Queen Quet said, because I texted her a couple of times, you're Gullah Geechee. I don't care where you are. If you're in California, Nevada, that's still who you are in your blood. Just like when you're Native, that's still who you are in your blood. It doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to be there, you know?
Absolutely, and I was adopted the first day I was born, but I grew up my whole life on the reservation, and I don't know who
Okay.
my dad is, but like I can only speak on the experience of a Pomo person because that's all I lived, and it lives inside me, like you said. I will never live another experience. I can never speak on another experience besides a Pomo person, and I think that's beautiful because like the where I was raised and where I grew up is amazing. And I just wanted to ask you, did you have any connections to that Choctaw side or the other
No,
tribes that you're from?
no, and I tell on my YouTube channel on the Choctaw side, on my granny side, on my daddy's mother's side, her granny, my granny's granny, and her sister did not want to go on the Trail of Tears, so they got up with a black man who was my great grandfather who was in the military, and so they left that life, and you know, she married him and ended up in Memphis. So they all that just got left behind.
Wow, they ended up in Memphis. Okay, and then
Of
that's
all
all.
places, of all places in the world, and the house that they came to is still there.
Wow.
My granny passed last year. I could tell you, we could do a whole video on that house. I could tell you some stuff. 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 But on that side, the Choctaw, it just, you know, when she married the black man, who was my great grandfather, I think third grandfather up back, they just left that life behind. You know, they didn't want to go. I think they were gathering them up to go to Oklahoma, and they didn't want to go. So they ended up, you know, they met up and say, hey, and they ended up here. On the Cherokee side, it was kind of ugly because my great-great-great-grandfather, who was full blood, Wesley, his name was Wesley Douglas, he married my great-great-great-grandmother. Her name was Sally Coleman. The tribe didn't want him to marry her because she was half black. So it was a whole bunch of mess and a whole bunch of stuff. And at the end of the day, they just told him where to go, basically. They didn't want that black blood. So I understand, and we were taught that, you know, if you're not accepted, forget them, you know. It's, you know, you still are who you are. That bloodline is still in you. But, yeah, so as far as my family's concerned, I'm familiar with the Cherokees being a little racist. Yeah.
And honestly, that's the thing that I talked about it with a couple of people. I had a Afro-Indigenous woman on, and she just the main thing that she wanted to talk about was the hate that she got as an Afro person on reservations in our own communities, because we take so much from the black culture. We want to be hip hop, we want to be ghetto, we want to be all these things, but we have so much hate and have so much jealousy towards the black community when it comes down to it. And it's wild because we had the same, like a lot of the same experiences. We have the same oppressor. We have the same goal, is to decolonize and get back to what we were before. So I don't, you know, and it sucks because like TV shows like Reservation Dogs, I don't know if you've watched it, but it's an amazing show, but I feel like that's one thing they're kind of missing is that side of the reservation, because that side exists too, because they're showing a little bit more of the white side than the Afro-Indigenous side and the other side of that, you know. And I haven't seen, obviously only 3 episodes of the newest season has come out, but I think that's a direction TV shows and Indigenous directors and things should take, is in considering the Afro-Indigenous people as well.
I don't think that people really realize how messed up the white man has made everybody. And I feel like they're playing into his hands. I mean, sometimes, and I'm just going to be frank, I see some natives are brown, some are red, some of them are color, some look almost white, you know, and that should be reflected. And I think that plays into a lot of the turmoil going back and forth online. I see a lot of back and forth, a lot of black natives. I see a lot. I just don't say a lot about it. You know, some black natives feel like other people reconnecting shouldn't reconnect, shouldn't do this. I mean, how can you tell somebody else what they need to do? I mean, growing up, even in Memphis, they used to have powwows here every year, and we used to go every year. I never participated, but we went every year. My mama and all of us, we would go. I cannot tell you, because I asked my sisters to be for sure. We never got looked at funny, never got treated any kind of way. But I do understand that phenotype has a lot to do with it too. But we all look differently. Now, my mother looks more native than I think any of us. And like I said, I got my summer tan going on right now. But I honestly, we weren't treated any kind of way. We went to powwows here in Memphis until they stopped having them. I mean, literally. And I think that was the early 2000s. I mean, we went every year. So, but I do understand that people are racist, and even natives are racist.
Okay. But I'm trying to figure out what my point is. I forgot my point. But you understand what I'm saying. We used to go to powwows. I mean, every year. I love them. There is an Indian village that's run by a local university here. It was the university. It was Memphis State. It's now the University of Memphis. And there were, what tribe was that? Not Choctaw. It was, I can't think of the tribal name right now. But they used to live on site. It was like a museum, and it's well known in this area. But the natives running it died out. So it's called Chucalissa Indian Village. You can look it up.
Okay.
After they died out, it it just ceased to exist. It just kind of, there's still natives in this area. I don't know if you're still coming through my radio. There's still natives in this area, and there's a lot of black natives. I just met one last night at Walmart. I mean, there's a lot of us. My two best friends are both black natives, you know. So there's a lot of us here. Where it really is.
Yeah, it's a thing that I think people aren't aware of, and the black native population is huge.
It is.
Um,
It is.
so let's get into the cats and dog little kitties and doggos that you got. You got your saving over there. When did you start that? It's a rescue, correct?
It is a sanctuary. We're not a rescue. And I try to be nice when I correct people, because not in a rude way, but rescues are more assembly line. They get them in, they get them out, they get them adopted. You know, they're boom, 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 boom. Well, when we take in a dog, they're there. Normally they have health issues, or they've been abused to the point that they're not adoptable. And I don't care how nice you see them. We used to post them on Facebook and stuff until we were attacked. We'll get into that later, but I don't care how nice you see them with us in our environment. There's certain techniques and things that we do to rehab them, but you can only rehab them to a point. You cannot rehab a dog, any kind of animal, and then revert back to other practices where they were abused. They're going to digress, you know. But we are a sanctuary. We're limited on what we can take. We're foster based right now. And most of our dogs are big. We have real dogs, like 100 pounds. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And is it mostly dogs?
Yeah, we have a couple of cats, but we're not cat people. I didn't grow up with cats. My mother was scared to death of cats, so mainly dogs. Yeah.
Okay, and so people call you guys and kind of, do you guys go to sites and help people take dogs out, or are you mostly just like seeing stray dogs?
We had a family business where we were seeing animals out a lot, and that's how it really started. Because we're out, you know, my sister would see them and back and forth, and that's really how we started. But no, I mean, we just pulled a dog. I think she pulled her a couple of days ago, a week ago, because she's in a foster now. There was skin and bones. Someone had tied her to a light post. Yeah. So it just, yeah. I mean, Memphis is bad with you know, animals, and the dog pound does not help. You know, they victimize people basically. It's just a mess here. I'm just gonna be honest, it's a mess. But that's what we do. Go ahead.
It's what you talked about. Dogs being tied up. That's an issue on the reservations too. Is a lot of dogs are just tied up and just left there.
Yeah.
And kind of like, you know, they don't get taken for walks. They don't get like anything. Nothing is like the life of a dog.
And that's why we're limited. We're nowhere near it, but I set our max at 25, and that's not really a lot for a small sanctuary or rescue. There's some that have 60-something dogs. Some have 200. We're not trying to do all that. Our main purpose was to take in the ones if we had to, and then outreach, educate, outreach. That was the goal. You know, but as far as this, it's a lot of work. It's mental, it's physical, it's financial. It's a lot. It's not something that you just do and, oh, I think I'm going to do this today. No, you live it. You live it. Yeah.
It's because we were talking about feeding the homeless, unhoused people too, and that's what I came through. Is a lot on my mental health.
Yeah.
I just couldn't continue to do it. It was just just like, because you're trying to help everybody, you're trying to help every situation, you're literally trying to do everything, and it's just a lot, you know.
It's a lot. My motto is, and it's me, two cousins, my sister, and her husband. So it's 5 of us. And I call it a calling from God because that's what it was. I didn't want to answer the call, but, you know, I did. And with their help, I knew it was going to be a lot of work because I've had dogs all my life and I've loved dogs all my life. So I knew it was going to be a lot of work. So I wasn't trying to save everybody. And that's before we were attacked. We were feeding about 100 dogs a week in the streets. We set them up. They knew us when we drove up. You know, you can't take them all in. So we gave them the best life that we could where they were. You know what
So
I'm
stray
saying?
dogs, yeah. So stray
Yeah.
dogs is a big issue.
Yeah. So, you know, give them and we had some of the best looking street dogs you wanted to see until we were attacked and then it helps everything. They don't go in people's garbage because they're eating regularly. They don't attack people because they're not hungry. You know, you're caring for them. It may not be perfect, but they're not in a dog pound where they're just killing back and forth. You can't kill them all. You cannot kill them all. You can try, but you can't.
Because
So,
the
but
amount
I
of
don't have
breeders,
all the answers, huh?
yeah. Because the amount of breeders that are breeding dogs out there and trying to make money, it's like ridiculous.
And some of those dogs still end up at the pound and still end up dead. I don't care what they say. Well, this is a full-blooded and I paid $1,500 for it. Blah, 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 blah. And when you get through, if hard times happen, the dog's got to go for them. We have not eaten. I don't know if I should tell you this. We have not eaten to make sure our dogs are taken care of. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's love for the animals.
Yeah. They're going to get what they need. I don't care what. They're going to get what they need. So.
That's amazing. That's such like and it's physical, like you said, because like these dogs could bite, they could attack you guys, they could do, you know, like
Well, that's the spiritual aspect. There's a spiritual aspect. We'll go back to the Gullah Geechee and being native. I consider what we do a ministry because we've gone out to help dogs and not even said a word, not said anything to them. All communication was just your energy and that animal. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just that, nothing spoken. So it runs deep. It really does. It's deep.
Is there a couple of the main spots that like these stray dogs exist, or like are you guys just driving around the
They're
city
all over
just like,
Memphis. They're all over Memphis. I wish that we promoted ourselves more, but you know, after we were attacked, we took a hit, a huge hit, and I see a lot of people, especially some of the white people, that are in it for money, and it takes money to do, but that's their thing, money and trying to look good and all that stuff. And I try to stay focused on what we're here to do, and that's to serve. And I know it
well
sounds
that's
corny. Go
no
ahead.
no no no, but like you're saying that that's capitalism winning because the money is what it's for, and that's what you go back to our people, like, you know, us as in native individuals. It's all about like being in touch with the universe, being in touch with the earth, being in touch with things of this earth, you know. So that's a capitalistic way of living life is having that money is going to get me this happiness, you know, of
Mhm.
getting this business going or whatever, or money is going to get this goal of these dogs being fed. Well, not really, because majority of the time people are like you are the ones that are really getting it done.
And there are a lot of people in Memphis, regular people that take in dogs. You may see, I've met so many that have 6, 7, some have 10. Just regular people that pull them. Just regular people. And then you have some of these rescues that are all about the money. And then again, it takes money to do it, but that's their thing, is the money. Money, 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 money. And I was telling my sister the other day, if we had a quarter of what they were getting in, We could do so much, but it's them that they promote, and it's them that they, I hope I'm not sounding sour, but that's just what I've seen.
No, yeah, it's money is, it's unfortunate, but it's it's the, it rules everything around us. It's and like, unfortunately, the wrong people get all the money in most situations. I think that's all the topics that I had for today, unless there was any other topics that you personally wanted to bring up.
Um, I wanted to get into the attack that happened to us with the dog pound and the Memphis police and all that stuff, but I don't know if we have enough time,
We
or
can
do
get
we?
into it really quick, yeah.
Basically, I was targeted. I was targeted by Memphis Animal Services, the dog pound, and that's the same thing, and the Memphis Police Department. It seems like we ran up on dog trafficking is what the dog pound was doing. And yeah, because dogs are money. You get a good looking one, you can sell them up north. They sell them up north in Maine and all those areas up there. And they'll tell them, well, people in the South don't take care of their dogs. And they sell them to them like for hundreds of dollars. I fell out with the woman over the pound, and she just made me a target. I ended up, and maybe if you're gracious enough or have time to invite me back, I would like to go into detail. But to sum it up, I was dragged out of my house. They tried to say I was crazy. That's the go-to. Held for 7 days, which is very illegal, very illegal. And during that time, one of my cousins was coming in through the back way to take care of the dogs. We were waiting for outside kennels to be put up. The dog pound had no warrant. They had no warrant for me. I hadn't done anything wrong. I was in my right mind. Held me for 7 days and broke in the house and stole all the dogs, killing some of them. Now, this is the same pound you can't get to even on a call. If you look them up on Facebook, you'll see a lot of people complaining about them. I learned later from one of their informants that they were hoping that I would be crazy by the time I got out. And that was hard to hear, but we kind of figured that. I've dealt with dirty lawyers, dirty judges. I was threatened in open court by a chancery judge. I was threatened by dog pound employees. My home was stalked to the point where I had to put 2 of my dogs in boarding and sleep in my car on Walmart's parking lot for 2 weeks because they were stalking me so bad.
And this was all the Memphis Police Department?
Memphis and the dog pound, yeah.
Wow, that's...
Because they had done wrong. You see what I'm saying? Everything they did was illegal. So they were hoping to cover it up, is what they were hoping to do. And this is all documented.
And you're still fighting are you fighting in court today?
Yeah, I'm still fighting. Still fighting.
Wow.
There are some other things that have happened recently that I can't discuss here, but this is an evil place. I tell anybody, do not come to Memphis. Do not come through here. The food is good. Just keep it trucking, because these are some very evil. I'm not the only one. There's one lady that had been harassed so bad, she ended up in the hospital. Her blood pressure, she was threatening a stroke. And I don't want to breeze by being taken out of my house. There were like 20 cops beating and banging on my door that night. They had cleared the scene. They came back and wanted me to come out like they were concerned. And I'm like, there's no problem here. You need to get off my property. That wasn't good enough. So the colonel decided to call the fire department and busted open my door, reached in and dragged me out of my own home, threw me in the back of the police car. And I told the little cop, and this was a black cop, the one that started all this. I told him, if I've done something wrong, take me to jail. He said, no, I'm going to take you to the nut house. That way nobody will believe you. So this is what happened. And like I said, there's more to it that I can go in detail for. There was a federal order in bankruptcy court, because during that time I had filed bankruptcy, for them to return the dogs. They refused. One of the district attorneys, Jennifer Sink, we've got a new district attorney now, but Jennifer Sink, she was a white woman. When I told her in bankruptcy court, you had no business in my house, she said to me, we can do whatever we want. Meaning she didn't need a warrant. She didn't need anything. You know, they'll just do whatever they want to do. You know, Amy Wyrick just got voted out. I don't know if you've had time to do research on her. She was voted the worst DA in the United States of America. So that should tell you how corrupt this system is here in Memphis. It's bad.
Wow.
So the things I'm telling you, I'm sure I'm not the only one that this has happened to. The worst DA and most corrupt in the United States of America. She just got voted out.
That's crazy. So I don't know much about Memphis. I've never been there to hear about.
Don't come here. Don't come here. You don't want it. You don't want it. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah, it's wild. It seems like a wild place. And this has all been happening in the past year, or this all happened
4 years of it. You know, COVID happened, so COVID slowed down everything. It started happening in 2018. I mean, I've been threatened. I've had court clerks refuse to file a replevin. That's a court document to force your property to be returned because animals are property. The head court clerk refused. And let me just say this, as you all say Afro-Indigenous in your area where you live, but as a Black Indian, I don't know what you see because I'm Black as well, but I am Native as well. And I have faced so much racism from Black people, you would not believe. You would not believe. They know that you're a little different, right? They see a little difference there. I've been treated as bad from Black people as I have from white people. I know that might be hard to absorb, but that's been my experience. I have. There, I said it. Yeah, I have. And all through this process. And they know they were wrong, but they went ahead with it anyway.
I'm so sorry to hear that. That seems like a wild situation to be dealing with, especially over like a corruption situation found in the system that is supposed to be protecting animals, you know.
And people. I hadn't done anything.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
Except for being outspoken. I was outspoken, yeah, and tried to stand up for my so-called rights.
See, yeah, it seems like, I mean, I'll do some more research and I'll watch your videos a little bit more, but it seems like there's a lot of corruption in these situations that you're dealing with in Memphis, you know, and that's very unfortunate. But I mean, I've never personally had to deal with like any legal situations like this, but I've luckily kept my head under the radar, and I'm now really 2 years sober, and I'm like, I don't know how that happened, how that ever. So I would get into a lot of situations where it's like drug wise and stuff like that, where I should have been arrested, I should have been in trouble, but I didn't, you know. So I'm very lucky. But there's a corruption and I feel like in many legal police departments, fucking dog pounds, all that kind of stuff. There's corruption throughout it all. We have to change all of it. There's so much that we have to change in this governmental system that we have that's all overholding. You say you felt some racism going through all this. Man, think about like back in the 70s, 60s, or like before that, when people were really like having to deal with it. It's wild to think about, like, and we're still dealing with it today.
What made me so mad, if I can interrupt you, is these are Black people doing another Black Indian, Native, whatever you want to call me, person of color. They participated in this. When you get home and you take off that uniform or leave that job, honey, you're still Black. So why are you participating with the oppressor to oppress another person of color? How dare you? You haven't arrived. Nobody's free yet. Nobody's free yet. You may think you're free. And I'm quote unquote, I guess, not connected, but my aunt's cousin used to be the police chief years ago, right? I worked for the police department many years ago as a traffic person. You know, I've been through the academy and everything. I mean, I've got cousins that are attorneys. I've got a long line of Freemasons in my family. I have Freemasonry privileges, and they still dragged me out of my house.
That's that going back to that, you know, that slave catching mentality of with this person needs to work for us. We need this person to gain more money. That capitalist lifestyle, you know. And like you said, the 20 cops is incredibly unnecessary for one person.
And no one can still tell me what I had done, what my crime was.
That's yeah. It seems I'm super sorry you had to
I
deal with
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I still deal with the trauma. And I have family members. I won't say who they are because that's embarrassing, but they are triggered. They're in therapy. I mean, this was major trauma. What they did to me, I should not be in my right mind right now. I should not be able to talk to you like I am. And that's the grace of God and the grace of my ancestors and me being stubborn. I should not be able to talk to you with a clear mind and clear head and not on drugs and not this. And do you understand what I'm saying? I've had a couple of their informants that knew too much, more than they should have, who told me they wouldn't have made it out of there. I had employees, when they were holding me against my will, false imprisonment, come to me and say, how are you able to be in here? I told them flat out, I was kidnapped. I couldn't be in here. Well, why aren't you doing something to get me out of here? Because you know I had no business being put in here to begin with. So I should not, I am a survivor that they did not mean to survive. I don't know if I worded that right. That they had no intentions of me being like this.
Because you're, like you said, you have strength. You have your ancestors' blood living within you. You had that strength to live through it, and I'm glad you did, because you can continue to help dogs and help them live and help them eat. You know.
But I'm still damaged. I mean, we're still damaged. I mean,
yeah.
I have nightmares, not kidding you, no less than 3 nights a week. I have not slept a full night all the way through since this happened. And
that trauma could live within the next generation that comes after you. You know, that's the thing that this realize how much trauma they pass out to people.
They don't care. That police colonel from the rain station, I can see. I'm trying to respect you and not cuss, so I've held back real good.
No, you're good. You can cuss on here.
That son of a bitch, I could see that racist son of a bitch. I could see his face. They literally reached in and dragged me out of my doorway, threw me to the ground on my land, on my property. And just the race that you can, and to see these black people helping him, it just infuriates me. You're not free. I don't care if you're a cop. I don't care who the hell you are. You're still a slave. You're more of a slave because you're helping them. Not because of my color, because you know what they're doing is wrong and you're participating.
100%. You're absolutely right. And I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your really, really busy day, helping those dogs out.
We're always running. We're always running. We're always running.
Helping those dogs eat. I really appreciate it. I love dogs. I love animals. I love what you're doing to feed them. Continue, because like you said, if they're fed, they're off. You know, they're not going to be getting in people's garbage. They're not going to be biting people. They're not going to be attacking things. You know, it's going to be a better.
If I could say one more thing, something else the dog pound wanted to know was how they thought it was just me, because like I said, we're very private. they wanted to know my secret, how we did what we did. They were trying to basically steal it and take it for themselves. But you know, that's what white people do, right?
And somebody just commented, "Can't kill the spirit." That's absolutely true. You can't kill our spirit. In my language, it's called way up. So you can't kill that way up, that spirit.
But they wanted to know how I did what I did, and they copied it a little bit. Now they're trying to say they don't kill the dogs, which is a lie. And they're say they're trying to help people in the community with their dogs, and it's just a mess.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on
Thank
and
you.
giving me
Thank you for
information
having me. I was so
about all.
nervous. I was
Oh,
so
you're good.
nervous.
You killed it. You killed it. You really did amazing. Thank you for giving all that information about the Gullah Geechee Nation,
Oh
about the
yeah.
corruption in Memphis and their police department, and what they're doing with their dogs and all the corruption with that. And I thank you. I really appreciate what you're doing out there. If you have anybody out in Memphis I would want to connect, definitely connect them with me. I'll try to have them on. Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
And thank you for what you do. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna
Thank you.
post this on my YouTube if that's okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll post it on YouTube as well, and I'll try to tag you and that as well.
Okay. Thank you. And you remind me of Carlos Santana. My mama loves some Carlos Santana. Have you ever
That's
heard that
literally
before?
what my uncle said that the other day.
Did he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a great
Thank you. Thank you.
compliment.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. He's definitely a legend, and
Yeah.
he's an amazing guitarist, amazing musician.
Oh yeah. I grew up listening to him. Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much, everyone that tuned in to the live. I really appreciate it. If you or anybody that you know that wants to come on, definitely reach out to me, and we'll get a date started or locked in. Definitely like and subscribe to the YouTube page, Burn the Wagon. Definitely share this on here on Instagram. And yeah, thank you guys, Yahui, for being here. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing.